A 75-year-old comedy legend has suddenly become one of the most talked about and most controversial names in Hollywood. Bill Murray, who was once seen as a lovable and unpredictable star, is now facing a very different kind of attention. Some of his recent projects have been quietly cancelled, and several co-stars no longer want to work with him. What has shocked people the most is not only what he is accused of doing, but the way he is talking about it now. At a recent public screening, Murray made comments that spread quickly online and set off serious discussion across the film industry. People who once laughed at his wild stories are now listening much more carefully. His old airport arrest in 1970, his fights on movie sets, and his reputation for chaos used to be brushed off as part of his strange charm. But what is trending today involves accusations that stretch back decades, and Murray's reaction to them is not what anyone expected. Social media cannot stop talking about it, and opinions are sharply divided. Bill Murray was born on September 21, 1950, in Evanston, Illinois, but his real story began nearby in Wilmette. He grew up in a small, loud house filled with 9 children. Life was crowded, noisy, and often stressful. Bill was the 5th child, one of many Irish Catholic kids growing up with used clothes, quick jokes, and very little money. His father, Edward Murray, worked as a lumber salesman. He earned a modest income that had to be stretched across a big family and private Catholic school fees. Money was always tight. To help out, the Murray boys worked at the Indian Hill Club, carrying golf bags and walking long distances for just a few dollars a day. Every cent they earned went straight back to the family. Their house was rarely quiet or clean, but it was full of energy. Dinner time came with one important rule. If you were not funny, you had to do the dishes. Humor was not just entertainment in the Murray house, it was survival. Bill learned early that making people laugh gave him attention and relief from stress. But when he was 17 years old, everything changed. His father struggled with diabetes and died suddenly in December 1967 at the age of 46. The loss hit the family hard. Bill's world, already chaotic, suddenly felt much heavier. His mother, Lucille Murray, was left to raise 9 children on her own. She worked long hours in a medical supply mailroom and did everything she could to keep the family together. Bill's older brother Brian quit college and came home to help. Brian found work at Second City, the famous comedy theater in Chicago, and that decision would later change Bill's life completely. While his family struggled to stay afloat, Bill was still trying to figure out who he was. Bill was never suited for a simple, straight path. At St. Joseph's School, he played sports and studied just enough to get by. He loved reading about American outlaws and frontiersmen like Kit Carson and Wild Bill Hickok. He was drawn to rebels and rule breakers, people who lived outside the system. That rebellious spirit stayed with him. At Loyola Academy, he played golf, formed a rock band called the Dutch Masters, and constantly cracked jokes with classmates and teachers. The band played Beatles covers, and Bill often made up silly lyrics on the spot. Music and noise helped him escape his grief. In 1968, Bill moved to Denver to attend Regis College, planning to study pre-med. But college did not suit him. He missed home, his grades fell apart, and he felt lost. Eventually, he hitchhiked back to Illinois. Along the way, he met strange, generous, and unforgettable people. That journey taught him more about life than any class ever did. On his 20th birthday in 1970, Bill made a mistake that nearly ruined his future. While standing in line at O'Hare Airport, he joked about having bombs in his bag. Security took the comment seriously. When they searched his suitcase, they found nearly 10 pounds of marijuana, worth a large amount of money at the time. The story made the front page of the Chicago Tribune. Bill was arrested and put on probation. He dropped out of college for good. Instead of falling apart, he changed direction. Brian, now connected to Second City, helped open a door for him. In 1973, Bill joined their touring comedy group. Within months, he was performing on the main stage alongside future stars like John Candy. Bill stood out immediately. He played strange characters, including an awkward lounge singer who mocked old bar acts in a dry, broken style. He was unpredictable and sometimes dangerous on stage. During one show, he broke a heckler's arm, then bought the man a beer and drove him to the hospital. That story became part of his legend. He was not polished or safe, but people remembered him. In 1974, Bill moved to New York and joined the National Lampoon Radio Hour with performers like Gilda Radner and John Belushi. The environment was wild and chaotic, but it fit him perfectly. He played bizarre characters, from broken elevator operators to fake Santa Clauses. During one sketch, he accidentally set a prop on fire and nearly burned the stage down. The audience loved it. Bill always seemed to work best when things were close to falling apart. His first television break came in 1975 on a short-lived version of Saturday Night Live hosted by Howard Cosell. There, he introduced his lounge singer character to a wider audience. The bit was funny, but real fame did not come right away. When he later auditioned for the main NBC version of SNL, he did poorly. The producers were unsure about him. Instead of casting him, they offered him a writing job. Bill accepted and waited quietly for his chance. That chance came when Chevy Chase left the show. Bill stepped into the spotlight. His first live performance was rough, but he slowly won people over. By his third season, he had become one of the show's key performers. He did not try to copy anyone else. He stayed strange, sharp, and unpredictable. One of his most famous sketches came in 1977 when he played Abraham Lincoln applying for a modern job interview. He refused to remove his stovepipe hat and spoke in outdated language. The sketch was awkward and strange, and that is why it worked. People felt like it could fall apart at any moment. Another memorable moment came in 1978 when Bill played a photographer arranging a fake family made of rag dolls. The sketch felt unscripted because much of it was. His physical comedy and strange energy stole the show. By 1980, he was performing bizarre sketches about ancient monuments made of cinnamon buns. His style of rambling, improvised comedy drew huge audiences and helped shape his future film roles. Behind the scenes, though, tension was growing. Bill clashed with producers and publicly criticized the show. By 1980, he left SNL after a bitter feud. Around that time, his behavior backstage became more reckless. During one episode, he set off fireworks in John Belushi's dressing room as a prank. Security had to step in. Some people laughed. Others saw it as a warning. When Bill filmed Meatballs in 1978, no one knew if he could carry a movie. The set was chaotic, filled with unhappy child actors and constant problems. Somehow, the chaos worked. Bill improvised the famous line "It just doesn't matter," which became the heart of the film. The movie was a huge success and turned him into a movie star. Caddyshack followed and made him a legend. His famous Cinderella golf story was completely improvised. He created magic in a single take. But his temper was also clear. During filming, he destroyed an expensive set piece in anger. The crew was shocked, but the moment became part of the film's rough charm. In later projects like Where the Buffalo Roam and Stripes, Bill threw himself fully into his roles, sometimes going too far. He lived as Hunter S. Thompson, frightened people with his behavior, and carried the character with him long after filming ended. On Stripes, he injured himself during a mud wrestling scene that was almost rated too extreme to release. By the time Ghostbusters came out in 1984, Bill Murray was one of the biggest stars in the world. But even then, there were moments that made people uncomfortable. During one scene, he grabbed Sigourney Weaver in a way that was not planned. Filming stopped, and tension filled the set. The movie became a massive success, but the incident was never forgotten. Over the years, Bill continued to work in films, often praised for his unique style and criticized for his behavior. Now, decades later, old stories are being looked at in a new light. Accusations from the past are resurfacing, and people are questioning whether his behavior was ever acceptable. What has surprised many is how Bill Murray is responding. Instead of apologizing clearly, he has made vague and defensive comments that have only fueled the controversy. The public is now divided. Some still see him as a flawed but brilliant performer shaped by a chaotic past. Others believe his actions should no longer be excused as humor or artistic freedom. As projects are cancelled and colleagues step away, Bill Murray's legacy is being rewritten in real time. What was once seen as wild charm now looks very different, and the conversation around him is far from over. Not because anything truly dangerous happened, but because of the mix of fake gas, non-stop movement, and the intense energy Bill Murray brought to every take. Editors later admitted that putting the scene together was a nightmare. Every take felt completely different, like they were trying to stitch together 10 separate moods into one scene. Nothing matched, yet somehow it worked. That kind of chaos followed him into the next phase of his career. In 1988, Scrooged was released, and this time Murray was not just acting. He was deeply involved in shaping the movie. He co-produced it and constantly rewrote scenes on the spot. One particular scene became famous even though it never made it into the final cut. It was supposed to be a live television broadcast where his character, Frank Cross, explodes at a group of Christmas elves. Instead of delivering light, family-friendly jokes, Murray launched into a long, profanity-filled rant that shocked everyone on set. The crew could not stop laughing because it was so intense and unexpected. But it was impossible to keep in the film because it would have pushed the movie far beyond its rating. Director Richard Donner had no choice but to remove the entire scene. Even so, people who witnessed it live kept talking about it for years, calling it one of the funniest moments Murray ever created. In 1990, Murray took on Quick Change, a strange and risky project where he played a bank robber who commits crimes dressed as a clown. He also co-directed the film, which added more pressure. The original director left just before filming, forcing Murray and writer Howard Franklin to take control at the last minute. On set, Murray insisted on improvising nearly half of his dialogue. The result was uneven. Critics appreciated his strange energy, but audiences were confused by the tone. The movie struggled at the box office and barely earned back its budget. Still, over time, it developed a cult following. People began to enjoy it for exactly what it was, messy, odd, and unapologetically weird, much like Murray himself. The chaos grew more personal in 1991 during the filming of What About Bob? This time, it was not just part of the performance. Murray decided to fully commit to method acting, but he took it too far. Off-camera, he began following his co-star Richard Dreyfuss everywhere. He showed up at restaurants, hotels, and backstage areas without warning. What Murray thought was funny felt threatening and exhausting to Dreyfuss. Tensions grew so intense that Dreyfuss nearly quit the film. Director Frank Ounce had to step in to calm things down. Production was delayed, and crew members avoided getting caught between the two actors. The movie went on to make a lot of money, but the damage behind the scenes was real. Dreyfuss refused to speak to Murray for years afterward. By the time Groundhog Day was made in 1993, Murray was emotionally worn down. Years of fame, pressure, and frustration had caught up with him. His character, Phil Connors, was meant to slowly change and grow through endless repetition. To prepare, Murray had to learn to play piano for the role. He could not read music, so he learned everything by ear. The piece he practiced was difficult, and he trained for hours to make it look believable. Although a double was used for some close-ups, most of what audiences saw was actually Murray playing. Director Harold Ramis pushed him hard, demanding over 100 takes for certain scenes. Many people believe Ramis used Murray's real exhaustion and frustration to shape the character's emotional journey. The film was a huge success, but behind the smiles was a man beginning to unravel. In 1994, Murray surprised everyone by taking a serious supporting role in Ed Wood, directed by Tim Burton. He played Bunny Breckinridge, a transgender figure from old Hollywood. Murray committed fully. He dyed his hair, stayed in character constantly, and approached the role with respect rather than exaggeration. Burton later said Murray brought a rare vulnerability to the character and never mocked or overplayed it. The film received critical praise, and Murray earned new respect as an actor capable of depth beyond comedy. Still, drama never stayed far away. After Ghostbusters 2 in 1989, Murray disappeared from studio communication for nearly 2 years. He was angry over unpaid royalties, reportedly worth millions of dollars. He sued the studio and refused to back down. The case was settled privately, but the fallout was significant. Sequels were delayed, and relationships were damaged. It became one of the most talked about royalty disputes in Hollywood and changed how studios handled contracts with major stars. For years, Murray had been seen as the class clown, hiding behind sarcasm and jokes. But by the late 1990s, something inside him shifted. That change became clear in 1998 with Rushmore. Director Wes Anderson gave Murray a script that did not depend on jokes. It asked for silence, sadness, and reflection. Murray accepted the challenge. He lost weight, wore dull suits, and played a man who seemed lost in his own life. He tapped into old regrets and buried memories. The film did not make much money, but it changed how people saw him. Hollywood stopped laughing and started paying attention. That collaboration continued with the Royal Tenenbaums in 2001. Murray slipped easily into Anderson's strange world, delivering quiet lines that were sometimes improvised. One small moment, when he looked directly at the camera and spoke casually, became unforgettable because it felt honest. Murray was no longer trying to be funny. He was simply being present. Awards followed, but Murray did not seem to care. He loved Anderson's sets because they allowed him freedom. He even worked for little or no pay just to be part of those films. In 2003, Sofia Coppola cast him in Lost in Translation. The film had no traditional script, just a loose outline. Murray played an aging actor adrift in Tokyo. His connection with Scarlett Johansson's character felt natural and quiet. The film was a success and earned Murray serious award recognition for the first time. Although he did not win, his final whispered line became legendary. Years later, it was revealed that he said, "Don't forget me." That simple sentence captured his entire career. In The Life Aquatic, he played a broken oceanographer chasing meaning beneath layers of absurdity. The set was massive and strange, and accidents happened. Murray once fired a prop harpoon that accidentally hit a co-star. The crew laughed it off. Murray refused to scuba dive, so scenes were faked. He later said he did not realize the film would be considered art. To him, it was just another strange adventure. Broken Flowers followed in 2005, where Murray played a quiet man revisiting old relationships. Around that time, his personal life was also falling apart. Rumors surrounded his marriage, and the sadness on screen felt real. The film earned praise even though it made little money. It solidified his new image as a reflective, broken man rather than a loud comedian. Problems returned during Get Low in 2010 when Murray clashed with the production and briefly shut filming down. Whispers began again that he was difficult to work with. Those whispers grew louder in 2022 when a crew member accused him of misconduct during rehearsals for being mortal. Production was shut down, a settlement was reached, and the film was cancelled. Murray's response only made things worse. He did not deny it clearly, and public reaction was harsh. Old controversies resurfaced, including leaked emails and past behavior. Even later films carried stories of chaos behind the scenes. By the time he appeared at Sundance in 2025, Murray was no longer joking. He spoke openly about regret, laziness, and starting over. He returned to smaller films and reflective roles, seeing them as a way to make peace with his past. At 75, Bill Murray is still unpredictable. He talks about touring as a singer, playing jazz, and continuing to surprise people. He never followed a straight path, and his life has been full of mistakes, brilliance, conflict, and quiet moments of beauty. He turned sadness into art and confusion into meaning. Whether loved or criticized, he changed how comedy, vulnerability, and aging are seen on screen.